So we were in Africa when this happened. So this was the most eye-opening thing. If you guys come to Red, Wine, and Blue, which you should, highly promote it. But one thing I like literally was in Africa, and the thing that was most eye-opening to me was, as fucked up as everybody in the United States thinks America is, and everything in America is going wrong. You know, what you hear from mainstream media. Every single person, whether they were from an African country, a European country, an Asian country, wherever they were from, their biggest life goal was to step foot in the United States. And that to me, that was very humbling, because it's like, we are so fucked up here to think like we're horrible, because all of them said we're more developed, we're a world power, all this stuff, and we're like, we're crumbling, we're doing all this stuff, and it's like every other country in the world, even with the shit that we've had the past 4 years, thinks that we're a world power. Like it was just very eye-opening, and it really brought me back to kind of the mission of Folds of Honor, honestly. Like, the people that are defending our freedom and putting us in the position to have that viewpoint from the rest of the world is really impactful. So it's kind of cool.
I'm going to say that was the intro, actually. Welcome back to the M3 podcast. Oh, no. I was sitting there, I was like, damn, that was good. So we're going to use that as the intro.
Is that rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
But that was good. See, that's what we were talking about when we were doing content yesterday. We got Alex with us from Folds of Honor. We got Dre and Ricky from the MMG crew. But no, when we were doing content yesterday, we were really talking about like formulating those answers, and then like you get on camera, then you were like, y'all weird. And I was like, but no, it's to that point. I think world power, I think leading that right into Folds, and there was a lot more conversation going on before that. But a lot of countries do look at the United States as power. They look at our military, our armed forces, is a world leader by a long ways. There's nobody that's even close. And there's stats on like how many aircraft carriers are on the planet.
I was going to quote it. I don't have the exact number.
I don't have the exact number, but like on aircraft carriers, I think we have more than the rest of the world all put together.
I'm glad you're not like trying to quiz me, because I have no idea.
No, but it's like, it's pretty just astronomical of like how far out in front we are, and how much those people actually make all this possible. And we have people in the United States that don't appreciate it. And I appreciate every single day. When I drive into the office, I love the fact that we live in a free world. We live in the land of opportunity all day, every day. So we'll start with Folds. We'll go into your story, and then we'll come back to Folds. Okay? So what got you started with Folds of Honor?
So right out of college, the employer that I ended up going to was going to host a golf tournament, actually, for Folds of Honor. And Folds of Honor is very big into the PGA and golf in general, because our founder is actually two of the coolest jobs you can have: fighter pilot and PGA golf professional. So automatic in to PGA.
When I heard about this guy, I was like, keep him away from my wife.
Exactly.
Like, this guy sounds cool.
No, but he's the best dude. And we have this connection to the PGA, and they've been an incredible partner to Folds of Honor since 2007, really from the jump. And anyways, so back to Kansas City, and kind of my position in it is I started with the company, and they were doing a golf tournament. And this was the first year that the Kansas City chapter was established, actually, in 2011. And it's been the longest running golf tournament for the Kansas City chapter. So this is the 14th year, I think, this past year. And it's really, a month into working at that company is when I got immersed with Folds of Honor. I didn't know what it was, and immediately fell in love with it. I've always had a passion for my country and for the people who serve and protect it. And I think, that it was an automatic, yes, I want to be involved. And so, I continued on with that company for about 6 years, and ended up slowly taking over more and more roles within that golf tournament. And eventually the Folds of Honor Kansas City board asked me to be a part of it, and I helped start the Young Professionals board back in 2018. And then I've been on the main board since, I think, 2019. So just kind of been around.
Making it happen.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that you did touch on there that I very much agree with is just loving our country. And you were just recently out of the country for a little while over in Africa. Mm-hmm. And it's we've had some South Africans on the podcast.
Oh, cool.
And there's a bunch of them that run all the farms up north. And when we met them, it's crazy how much they're into America. Like, I feel like they support America more than most Americans do. And it is like they're the most, I mean, American flag swinging, like there's a South African flag there too, but they're all about America. They think it's just the coolest thing when they come over here.
So I think, yeah, one of the most eye-opening things about me being overseas recently, I've been overseas before, but I've never been to Africa until a couple weeks ago. And I was over there during the election. And so I actually saw or interacted with people before the election, and they're all very invested in what's going to happen, who's going to win, what's going on, you know, all these different things. And then post-election as well. But I think, you know, politics aside, the thing that was most impactful to me was just how excited they are about what's happening in the United States. And their biggest life goal and life dream is to go to the United States. Whereas if you think about some of us in the United States, ours is like, oh, I want to go to Tanzania. I want to go on a safari. I want to go to Italy. I want to go to England, you know, whatever the case is. And I just thought it was very eye-opening and kind of put everything into perspective for me, because everybody said that the reason that America was their biggest life goal was because of how powerful we are and how developed we are and how far ahead of the rest of the world we are. And I think a lot of times as Americans, we see what's happening in the media, and unfortunately it kind of skews us into thinking that we're not in as good of a place as we are. And so it really just re-grounded me and brought me back down to, you know, especially what we're doing with Folds of Honor and really being that American patriot that I think has the definition of patriot has been skewed over the past few years. You can't just say you're a patriot anymore, because people perceive that as being something more than just loving your country and loving the people who serve and protect your country or serve and protect your communities, like your first responders. And I think that was my biggest eye-opening moment over there, and I think that that's something we could all kind of use every time to time.
And when the South Africans were on, it was crazy that they brought up. I asked them, I'm like, what would you say, like, just from day-to-day living, the biggest differences between what you see here in the United States to South Africa? And they're like, it's actually the first responders that you guys have. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, our police are all corrupt. He goes, you get pulled over drinking and driving. He goes, you can pay him off with $20. Like, he goes, there's no like law and order that keeps people from doing those things. And he's like, if you live in nicer areas, you pay for your own private security. Like, he's like, you're private contracting out if you want to be safe. He goes, we put walls up around where we live.
12 feet walls.
Yeah.
12 feet walls around all these properties. They are on, I forget what they call their acreage. Hectares.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we live on like this many hectares. And I'm like, so you have 12 feet walls around the entire thing? They're like, yes. I'm like, I'm just sitting there thinking from a money aspect of one, that's going to cost a ton. And then how long that takes to put up. And then a lot of them in those nicer areas, they have them electrified. And I'm just like, that's crazy to even think about, because they were talking about the safety, and it's like, they are the law enforcement at their property.
That's pretty interesting. That didn't come up in our conversations with any of the people that we interacted with, but I did kind of notice that, actually, now that you say that. There, even the barbed wire, it almost looked like a prison.
He said
on top of a lot of those walls. And
yeah, he said just security. He's like, you don't feel secure over there. And it's like, I know we have bad parts in America, and my deal is like, I feel like those areas are groomed into that. We have those kind of people coming into our areas, breaking into trucks, shooting at people. And it's like, I have no respect for those kind of fucking people at all. And it's also, I feel that a lot of the politics have pinned police officers into a bad position, and people aren't wanting to pursue that career like they used to. And they're not allowed to do anything. And it's like, I have good friends that are firefighters in Kansas City, and they tell me what people get off with just because, like, we don't want to be in the news. And he goes, it's a weird world that we live in, like, with what we're dealing with. And he's like, It's just because you get crucified just if somebody looks different. But he's like, if they're doing the same shit, he goes, I don't care what color they are. Because if somebody's doing something wrong, the law states that you're not supposed to be doing that.
I think that's something really challenging that our first responders face as a whole today. And I think 2020 magnified a lot of that. But also, I think from a Folds of Honor perspective, kind of going back to that, when we started to include first responders instead of just military personnel, I personally was worried about that because it goes back to, I can't even say I used to have on my LinkedIn, I was a patriot, and I started getting messages on all spectrums from people, and in your LinkedIn personal messages, whatever it is, of all sides. And I was like, I just love my country, and I just want to let people know that I love my country, that I support the people that are allowing us to sleep under that blanket of freedom that we do every night. I mean, we are here in the United States. We can go to bed feeling safe, and we don't have to. I mean, a lot of people in rural America they don't even lock their doors.
We grew up, we never took keys out of vehicles. Like literally growing up, like we normally had like 3-4 trucks sitting out in front of the house, and we just pulled up, throw the keys on the floorboard, whatever it is. Like anytime you needed to jump into something, like lived out on land, like if somebody drove down our road, we knew all the trucks and stuff that would come down the road, but if somebody rolled down, there was a vehicle we didn't know, like we were jumping in to go find out who it was.
You're
like,
ready,
you don't live around here, and why are you over here?
Yeah, I think that's so different from now, or not in the United States. We're very fortunate that in general we're safe. There obviously are pockets in every city where maybe you don't want to go there after dark, or there's certain areas that are kind of maybe have more crime activity. But if you ever travel abroad, which I'm sure most people here have, I was in Prague last May, and that's not that far from Ukraine, and there was 2 fighter pilots that flew overhead, and my husband and I kind of looked at each other and we're like, oh, this is the closest to war that we've ever been. And we were in Prague. We were in the Czech Republic. We weren't even in Ukraine, but we knew exactly where they were going. And that was pretty eye-opening because we don't have that fear. And circling back to just that blanket of freedom, and that those people that sign their name on with invisible ink on that dotted line to serve and protect all of us, and the people that take advantage of that, I think it really makes me sad for those individuals to not realize the magnitude of the sacrifice that those people are making, whether they actually make that ultimate sacrifice or if they're just putting their lives on the line for it.
Yeah, and I think we take a lot for granted that we don't have war on our home forefront. Mm-hmm. Like, and we have these people that live in a false reality now, that they live in this false narrative that they build in their head that what they think are problems are not problems. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's what, like, on a real scale of the world, like, not even going into politics, but what politics spoke about on this last one, people were speaking on things that aren't a world problem. They're a problem that's only became a problem in the United States because people have nothing else to focus on, because everything else is covered from the highest power. That we do have this, you don't have to worry about a fighter jet coming over Kansas City because we have people coming in from another country trying to start war here. Like, people don't even think about those things. And there's people over in other countries that go to bed at night thinking that's going to happen. Like, I have a buddy that's from Croatia, and he came over here as a refugee in the 90s. Like, they went through war. Like, and when he came here, like, he himself and his brother and his whole family, crazy successful. But he's like, he is the biggest American patriot you're going to find. But it's like, he goes, you guys have the land of opportunity. He goes, and people don't even see it here. And he goes, they just bitch about everything is wrong. And he's like, you guys can do whatever you want. And he goes, nothing's stopping you. And it blows my mind.
I think it's really interesting to circle off of that, actually, is the people that are most appreciative of America are not people who were born in America. And even the people that have never been to America still view it as a land of opportunity. They still view it as oh wow, I can go and I can be whatever I want to be, and there may be a price adjustment for them depending what country they're from. I recently learned about some of that, but they still want to come here. They want to come here because they know that there's going to be afforded so much more than what they have now, and it's encouraging from my perspective to know that there are people out there like that view us that way, when there's people that just don't appreciate that about where we're at.
I think when they come over, the reason why they're so successful is a lot of times the way they grow up is it's like some of those countries. One of our buddies was just down south in South America, like rebuilding an entire neighborhood with their company. And he's like, the house was maybe half the size of this garage, and it's just an open floor that they put a concrete floor down, everything, and put walls up because they had just sheet metal. But it's like those people come here, and it's like they're ready to risk it all. They're like, anything's better than what I had. And then, I mean, a lot of times something hits and they're good at something over there. They come here and they just absolutely murder it, which is really cool to see because a lot of times a lot of individuals don't take the correct steps to come into America, but a lot of them that do, a lot of times they're on a side where they're like, hey, I fought my way to get here and I want to make my time here successful.
So playing off of that, actually, that's very interesting you bring that up, because while we were in Tanzania, we went on safari for 6 days, and we had the same guide for 6 days, and he was amazing. If you guys ever need recommendations, let me know. I have all the stuff, but he was amazing. So we really got to know him and his story, and the circumstances he lives in, the circumstances some of his family or friends live in. And he was telling us about a friend who has graduated with multiple college degrees over there, went back to school to get even an advanced degree. And it's been really challenging for him to get a visa in the United States. And we kind of made a couple of jokes, I'm not going to say them on here, about, like they cannot get into the United States because this visa is so hard to come by. And he has tried for 4 years straight and has gotten declined. And this is a very well-educated individual who's really motivated to come over and be a business owner and provide and, contribute to our economy and all this stuff. And so I think that was really eye-opening to me, because for me, I was thinking like, okay, well, just come to America. Like,
if every passport, let's go.
If we win the lottery, we'll give you the money. But like, it's not as simple as that. Like, there's these protocols, and you hear about some of the ways that people are getting into the country, and it's apparently not that easy.
It's definitely not.
Yeah.
I have a buddy that was in Hungary. He came over here for college, and I'm like, smart kid, and he played soccer for UMKC, one of their starters and everything. I'm like, why'd you come here for college?
Yeah,
he's like,
Kansas.
He's like, in every other country over there, he's like, they will hire someone with an American degree over a degree here. I'm like, what? He's like, and that'll make it so like any job I do, I'll immediately get paid more because I have an American degree. I'm like, would have never even thought of that.
They look at everything out of America as power than the rest of the world. It is like that degree out of America there's a higher value stamp on it. And I do think there's a lot of things that have taken place recently that have messed up for people like that to be over here. That I think people like that should have opportunity over here.
Well, and I mean, even going back to your comment about the small houses that people have and sleeping on a dirt floor, I keep talking about Africa, but this is my most recent experience, and we literally were with one of the last hunter-gatherer tribes in the world. Okay. Incredible experience, like very eye-opening. They spoke in, literally it's called clicks, and they go like, and you say hi by going.
I tried learning the language. It wasn't going well one night.
So, but it was very interesting.
You're talking about Afrikaans.
No, they speak.
Afrikaans is a little different than
like
the
JJ
clicks.
speaks clicks.
He does.
And he's sitting there, he's trying to say something. He's like, you say it like this. I'm like this? He's like, no. I'm like, Ed, we're getting nowhere, bro.
But it was really interesting because while we were with this tribe, we went hunting with them, and they showed us it was funny because there was definitely kind of that traditional gender roles. So they took my husband and they were showing him the hunting stuff and really focused on him during the hunting stuff. And then the women grabbed me and were like trying to show me like, this is a natural mosquito repellent. But they also she took me into the hut. And I'm 5'10", so I'm much taller than this woman. She was probably about 4'9". But I had to like duck to get into it, but she was like, "Oh yeah, 3 of us sleep in here," and it was probably this big. But it was a hut with straw and a dirt floor, and she's like, my husband and we had a translator, obviously telling me all of this, but we had her husband, her and her child all slept in that room. And you think about, we complain about our 800 square foot apartments or whatever we have here, so that was pretty eye opening too.
So Lily, in business, when we go down to Mexico, like,
you can invite me if you're since I'm going to be a content creator for you.
So I had like 8 weddings in Mexico in 12 months. So it was just like back to back to back to back going down there. And we've went to Mexico. I think Mass and I were adding up since we've been together. We've been to Mexico like 25 times or something. But when you go down there, I very much enjoy going down. I enjoy the beach. I enjoy service at these places. One of the things that like opens my eyes the most is the transport from the airport to our resorts. I'm looking across these areas the whole time. Like, you can ask Madison, like, I don't think we've ever left the airport and us really even talked going to the resort. Like, I just sit there and my wheels just turn the whole time. But you see a lot of these foreign people come to the States and they fear nothing because they come from nothing. That they're sitting there looking as like an American that's really screwed up everything is living in a nice new apartment, and they still, a new car store on their cheap cars, they'll finance somebody with 3 fucking repos that's never made a payment in their life, and you still go get a new car. Like, we give out credit to everybody. Like, they don't have that opportunity in Mexico. They're not walking in a dealership like, oh yeah, you don't pay anybody? Yeah, here's a car. Like, no, they're in. You see these cars that go by, I'm like, that I wouldn't give $1 for that on trade when we were in the car world. Like, and not $8.
It has 3 wheels.
Yeah, like, but you're sitting there looking at it, that they come over here, and the fear that holds people back in business, I'll risk all of it all the time. I press it so hard, and I sit there, I run with no fear that people are like, what's the worst case? I go leverage all this stuff and I wreck my credit and everything, and then I have to go get a job and I make a couple $100,000 a year and I have to live in an apartment and still have a new car. That's the worst case scenario. No matter what, my worst case scenario on the lowest side, I'm never worried about finding food. I'm never worried about water. I'm never worried about shelter. Never worried about wheels. The problems, like reading The Comfort Crisis, like you look at it, when you read it into stuff like that, the problems that we have in our world today, I always look at it as like, was this a problem that somebody had 200 years ago? Normally, if I formulate it like that fast, like really the first thing I think about, I'm like, no, all right, not really a problem. I just roll on. Like, there's people with health issues, like, I don't know why, but St. Jude's hits me with so many ads on TikTok, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, what is wrong with the world? I'm like, sitting there, I'm like, you look at some 3-year-old that has cancer that's like running out to their dad, getting in their truck, coming home, and I'm like, I don't have problems. I really don't. I was like, and the problems that people formulate in their heads every day is so whack, and they formulate this negative, hateful world that they look at, and I'm like, if you look for the negatives in the world, it's really easy to find them.
Since you used to be in the car world, if the saying goes, you're looking for a yellow car, you're going to find a yellow car.
100%.
So,
and I've always looked for the positives in the world. I look for opportunities. If you keep your eyes open to opportunities, they're everywhere, all day, every day. If you keep your eyes open to the positive things in the world, they're everywhere. And it's like, my deal is like our connection happening through the other Alex. His deal is like, when we first sat down, we met, he was involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters also. And he goes, hey, I really want to get involved in this. He goes, that's like kind of my one deal if we partner up. I go, whatever you're doing, 10X it, we'll do more. Yeah. And we were already involved with PAL, and then it was like, you guys came our way, and it was like, my thing as we progress forward, those are the things that I find more purpose in. And it's, you have the survival, the status, the freedom, the purpose of like the triangle of life. And I think a lot of times people don't find what it really feels like to help other people and I think that's with what you guys do at Folds. I see the big vision of it all. I see the big movement that what a real problem is in the world is the 8-year-old that their dad was over serving or their mom was over serving and they're not here. That you're going to have a child that doesn't have a parent or a police officer or a firefighter or whoever that first responder may be. There's a child that's going to go to college and they're not going to have that parent that's going to look out for them all the time and educate them on all the things that they know about.
I think you guys didn't ask me this other day when we were doing content, but what?
Yeah.
I wasn't in charge of it.
My favorite thing about Folds of Honor is it's not hearing the sad stories. Obviously, I mean, every time I hear one of our Folds of Honor speakers talk, I cry. I've been involved for about 9 years now. It's not hearing the sad stories, but it's hearing about the impact, like the true impact we're making. And since I have been involved for 9 years, there's one individual I'm thinking in particular. I met her. She lives in Parkville, so she's up north by you guys here. But I've seen her son grow up.
That was the one that spoke.
Mm-hmm. And
Literally, when I listened to that story in there, I'm standing there with 4 other grown men.
Manly men.
Like, we literally have I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm like looking at them like, you guys crying? What? Like,
I just have allergies.
Someone's cutting onions? Yeah. No, it's that is the most rewarding side to me. Getting to know these people and on a personal basis, especially here in Kansas City and really knowing that impact that you're having. But we bring in, for all the different events we do, we bring them in from all over the country. So we have the pleasure of meeting people from South Carolina, Colorado, Wisconsin, Washington, Texas. Like Nashville, Tennessee. Like I am thinking about all the ones that I've experienced. And I know we have so many more speakers that I haven't met, even though I'm on the board here and I've been on the board here for a while and also on a national council. I still haven't met all of them. And I think that just goes to show you the impact that Folds has is not just in a certain part of the country or associated with a certain political affiliation. It is across red, white, and blue. It is America. It is the people that have also, whether their family member is still alive and maybe disabled, someone who has, made the ultimate sacrifice or, end of watch, they made even more sacrifices, arguably, because they don't have the ability to have that person there every day, to your point, Dane. And I think that's where Folds of Honor is really, really cool for me, is we step in and we say, we know you don't have that, but we want to help honor that legacy and honor that sacrifice and at such an impactful time for those people. And it's not something that just stops. It continues on. And they are then part of that Folds of Honor family. And outside of just Folds of Honor chapters, it's also you guys, people like you guys that are supporters and patriots of the United States of America.
Yeah, and it's weird because there's a lot of charities out there that do a lot of good things, and there's people that they're honed in on different things that they're passionate about. But so in college, I worked with Special Olympics a lot. You want to talk about the most positive people you'll ever go find? Like,
they're awesome.
Amazing. I became the head coach up there for 4 years. And then once I got to Kansas City, I was in the car world. I still helped out. It wasn't with the Special Olympics. It was Fulfillment House in Kearney. I go over there quite a bit. But then when we got involved with PAL, I didn't even know about PAL. And it was just like a lot of that third world stuff that we talk about is in our backyard in Kansas City. And it's like, I'm not the person that, and I don't want this to sound bad, but I don't really care to go spend a bunch of my time helping out the homeless. I know that people get knocked off their feet, things like that. But where I struggle is in Liberty, we have these homeless people that stay on the corner right next to a hiring sign. Somebody that's 25 years old that's standing on the corner with a sign is fully capable of walking in and getting a job at the gas station there at Phil 66 here in Middle Liberty, that is hiring 100% of the time to go acquire money that way instead of grabbing out people's windows. I struggle with that, and people can say I'm an asshole, whatever it may be. I'm fine with it, but it's like, I really struggle when it's kids. An 8-year-old kid does not have that ability to go get a job. And there's kids that go into PAL all the time that they don't have that. There's kids that, big brothers, big sisters, that they don't have that. They don't have that adult figure in their life. And then with Folds, the scholarships and everything like that, there is a child at home that paid a bigger sacrifice than any of us.
And we'll never know the true extent of that.
I don't know what that feels like. And I'm the person that, like, I hate when there's people that are going through things and they're like, I understand. Because I've went through things and people are like, I understand. I was like, no, you fucking don't. You don't understand. Like, so I'm never that person like, I understand. I'll tell them straight up, like, I can't tell you that I understand what you're going through. Because I haven't been through that and I don't know what it's like to go through that. But when something like that does happen, there is a helping hand that comes out. That goes a long ways. I
think, too, one of the things that I love most about Folds of Honor is we operate so lean. I'm the vice president of the Kansas City chapter. We have a whole board of directors. We're all volunteers. We only have one paid employee for this whole chapter. And every year we raise approximately $1.5 million. And obviously the goal is to always expand that because our need is continually growing, especially since we've added the first responders. But, you know, we're all in this because we care about the same thing we just mentioned. And we care about the kids. We care about the spouses. We care about the individual. You know, we want to continue to honor that in a way that is impactful and meaningful for generations to come. Not in a way that's just going to be, hey, here's the 15 minutes of impact. You know, we want it to really, really last a lifetime. And 92 cents of every single dollar that we raise as an organization across Folds of Honor nationally goes to our scholarship recipients because we operate so lean and because we don't have a lot of overhead besides the people in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Owasso, who literally are the ones approving the scholarships and the grants and doing all of the, behind the scenes work. The rest of us are volunteers because we love our country and we love the people that are protecting it.
So I want to back off Folds a little bit, and I feel like you don't end up, what's your background that has led you to this spot that I feel like in today's world, there's not as many people made like us at this table, as many as we think. I say that actually, but then I think the election kind of showed that there are a lot of us out there. So
like enough to win.
Yeah. But painted the country red. So I think there is a good amount, but it's like, what's your background? What was growing up like to make you this patriotic?
So, I grew up in Iowa. I'm from Cedar Rapids, Iowa originally, and I played basketball just north of Kansas City here for 4 years. And I've always been surrounded by just people who love America. I mean, I think growing up, especially for us, 90s kids.
She's older than me, so don't.
I am. I didn't want to say that, but I don't know how old they are. But I have a.
They're both a lot younger.
Really?
95, I made the cutoff.
Okay, so 90s kids. But like growing up, like it was just like the 4th of July came around and you just were decked out in red, white, and blue. And I feel like times were a lot different then when you would just say like, America, like you love your country. Like you're a patriot, you love your country. You support, you stand up, you do the Pledge of Allegiance. I was in 3rd grade when 9/11 happened, and it like that like rocked my world, and I was a 3rd grader, like I didn't like fully understand the magnitude of it. And I just think that there's a picture of me as a little kid at a 4th of July parade. Like 4th of July parade, I was rolling deep in red, white.
So in a terrible way, I think 9/11 was one of the worst things that's happened to our country in our lifetime. And on another side, I think it was one of the best things that, like, from a unity side of what
September 12th, yeah.
What it did for the country, that it's terrible that something like that has to happen to bring people together to say we all do back the same thing. And it's like, I feel like the early 2000s was the we are Americans.
Yeah.
Like, it was
Absolutely.
a like very united forefront. People were America over everything else in the world. Like, but it wasn't like everyone was against each other. I think there was a certain couple presidents and a certain couple things that happened that really started just creating a divide, that it's now everyone's oppressed, and there's no, I feel when you take a group of people, if 4 of us sat here, my thing is like, I've always told my wife, I go, you're capable of doing a lot more than me. Like, when we came out of college, she was working, I was making, I don't know, 10x the money she was. I was like, you're way smarter than me. You're way better looking than me. Go do something that you get paid. And I just pointed her in the right direction, and she did. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I'll tell people all the time, women are actually, when they can handle emotional control, they will outperform men in the workspace all day, every day. But realistically, females will wear their emotions on their arms a lot more of the time, and that's their biggest hindering factor in the business world. But when they can figure out how to understand that, and understand they have just as much power in the room as a male, they win. Like, I would take a strong female over a male all day, every day. Like, there's actually a bigger stance to be had for a lot of people in the space, but most of the time people will look at it as their excuse. They want to look at it as they got some excuse of why they can't be successful, and I think that's just a spot that we've came to in America, that it used to be we're all Americans, we all have opportunity, and now it's like, well, I can't win because I'm a female. I can't win because I'm this race. I can't win because of this. I can't win because I grew up over here. I can't win because of whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of weird. Like, anybody of any race, any sex, anything that you can win, the opportunity's all still there.
We're still the land of opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think some people have lost sight of the fact that there is so much opportunity out there. You have to be willing to take advantage of it and work hard for it. And
there's something that a lot of people don't understand.
It ain't given to you for free. Yes. You gotta work for it.
Well, and I think that's something, especially as you know, I was born in 1993. But like, I think
we weren't gonna call out your age.
Well,
yeah.
But
she said, not us.
But being born, you know, in that kind of part of the 90s, I feel like we were at that conjecture point of a lot of things. Internet, like true Google, and remember Ask Jeeves? Yeah, like all of that stuff.
Evo,
yeah.
MySpace, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they had Ask Jeeves for
LimeWire.
Yeah. You could like type in those like first things, and you could type in your own answers. So like, it would like read people's minds, and people would be like, "Oh my god!"
Or you download 500 viruses to your computer, and you tell your parents that you don't know how that happened.
I don't know how that got there. I know my MP3 player's got hella songs.
Yahoo, and I don't know what happened.
ASL. No, anyways, but so I think that, you know, where we are in society, we're kind of that conjecture point of, hey, we can still work our asses off, and we know that there's opportunity. We're not going to make excuses for it. And I mean, I personally, going back to, you know, your original question of how I was raised or my background or whatever, my parents raised me to be a strong, independent woman. You know, like they were like, hey, like, you're not going to be given anything. Anything that I had as a kid, I had to work for. And I appreciate that about them, and I appreciate that about my upbringing and just the environment I was in. Because, I mean, my mom was one of 9. So I would go up to the farm in the summer times.
That's a fleet.
yeah. That is something. And I would go up with my grandma and pick, like, eggs out of the chicken coop and, like, do weird things, like, for being, you know, a city slicker in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I just think there's a lot of people that aren't willing to work hard anymore. And I think that's where a lot of that stems from.
Yeah. And I've been actually in talks with Madison quite a bit about it. we were just down in Texas, and our friend's down there. I mean, his family owns huge dairies, like, and I mean, just land everywhere. And they have this new house, and they have, I want to say their oldest son's 5, youngest son's 2. They just like kick him out the back door, and like you don't see him for a while. Like,
growing up is the streetlights for us, right?
Yeah, like, well, growing up, we were out in 20 acres, and it was all like cattle to the side, farm fields around. So
there were no street
yeah,
lights.
no street lights where we were at.
Okay.
But like where we grew up, like our dad would just kick us. Like you weren't allowed to come back inside till it was dark. And then like we had real chores growing up. Like I think we've also went through an evolution of like, I feel like 90s kids, like I think we have a pretty weak generation too. I think it was like the start of helicopter parenting, where they started like kind of really like.
It's like your kids back in like 70s, 80s, it was okay for your kids to get hurt. Like that's how they
There
learn.
also weren't like all the weird things going on in our world. There weren't all like, it wasn't hyper focused in the news everywhere.
Yeah.
I feel like 90s started being like these pedophiles rolling around like candy vans and stuff. Like it was just like a weird, like they all of a sudden started like, you can't be outside without us watching you. So like our family moved out to the country so we could be outside all day, every day. But then I feel like we moved into the space of like, I was listening to a podcast and they said that you went from helicopter parents to now we're in bulldozer parents, where like every problem that arises for their kids, the parents just handle it.
They solve it, yeah.
To where it's like kids aren't in a position of like solving any problems anymore. And it's also like you're watching kids taking out the trash or doing dishes are not chores. Like I look at it as like when we had chores, it was mowing 20 acres each week. Like
shoveling the snow. Like all sorts of stuff.
Like we had tractors and stuff. We had a 1/2 mile long driveway. You had to do snow to the end. You had to do it up by the barn. But if we went to like scrape the driveway, go get everything around the barn all done, everything. Like you had to go up, get the tractor started, everything, get the bucket put on it, get the blade put on the back, go out, get everything done. It was like wasn't a quick, easy like grab the shovel and hit the front drive. But it was like mowing 20 acres. I mean, that was something that. Our dad liked it striped out a certain way. He had a plane. He'd fly over the top, make sure the lines went through the house correctly, through the barn right, and everything. It was absurd.
The dirt work he showed us how to do.
It's skid loaders, like
all that stuff. Every
year we went from 3 rock walls, like, and you come up our house and had 2 big, huge staircases that came up both sides of the driveway. We'd go from 3 rock walls to 5 rock walls every year. So every year we'd sit there and we'd have the skid loaders pulled up, ripping all the rock out and everything. And our dad would make us anchor the walls back so they never came forward. Like we were 10 years old learning how to do this stuff. And then people were like, other kids like, hey, our chores like, we got to take out the trash each week. I'm like, if our dad had to ask us to take out the trash,
I'm probably getting a whooping.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're going to get your ass handed to you now. But we had that all the time. So like when we grew up, like the things we looked at work-wise, didn't seem like a big deal. And like things that other kids were saying is like accomplishment. They did some work and they got something done. I'm like, what? And I think it's just a level of what you have to put in to get to an outcome. They were so accustomed their whole life into just so little input for a big output that their parents are rewarding them. I think that's a fault to parenting. That our dad was like, you did all this stuff, and then he's told you it still wasn't good.
How old are your parents?
Her dad's 59. Mom's like 58.
Okay, so that's interesting because I think that one of the differences is I grew up with older parents. And so I kind of was held to that older standard, even though I was the younger sibling and grew up in the 90s. Like I feel like my parents still kind of carried on some of that.
How old are your parents?
Oh no. They're mid 70s.
Okay.
So
Madison's parents are both much older.
Yeah, my mom was 40 when she had me, and I'm 30. I'll be 32.
I'm pretty sure Madison's mom was 40 when she had Madison.
Yeah. But I think that also changes a lot of the way that you're raised and the way that you're instilled, obviously, because just your environment. Because my parents, they're stubborn. I don't know where I would ever get that from. But in 2020 in Cedar Rapids, there was a derecho. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those, but it's essentially straight line winds that come through, almost like it seems like it's just a normal thunderstorm in the summertime typically, but it's like straight line winds and they can reach like 110 miles an hour. So anyways, a derecho came through kind of the area my parents were in, and I had convinced them for years. Finally, their house was on the market, all this stuff to sell because they had almost an acre lot, and they were very passionate about keeping the landscaping up and doing all these things. And I was like, you guys are getting too old. Like, no offense, but you need to take a step back. Like, you just need to slow down a little bit. And this derecho came through and took down every mature tree in their yard. And they've been in that house for 36 years. And there's a park that backs up. Like, it was brutal. And I remember looking at I met them at their new house when they were moving in, and they just looked exhausted because they had worked so hard to not only declutter their house before this happened, and then they had to take care of all those trees and all this other stuff. And I remember looking at my parents and being like, oh my gosh, like, you guys worked your asses off. And I know where I get it from, from a career perspective, because, Folds of Honor is like a passion project, but, we still have to make a living. And I think that that's where, to your point earlier, that's where a lot of that comes from for me personally. Just, it's modeled. And that's something that, eventually when I have kids, I want to model that to them.
And the funny thing too is when I think about a lot of people that do have older parents, at one point I was like, yeah, it doesn't make any difference. And then I started thinking about like how much more mature I am at 30 than I was at like 25. I'm like, at 25, I don't think I would have been a good parent. I'm like, at 30 might be better, but it's still like there's just so much more maturity level and thought process that goes into everything that you're doing. And I sit there and sometimes I look at, I think the first 10 years of a kid's life so important that it's like that.
They're instrumental.
And if
your frontal lobe isn't developed until 25.
Well, what I'm saying is like, so if the parent is going through that maturity phase with their child, I feel like sometimes it's a little difficult. Like sometimes, and I think it's hard as an individual to recognize your maturity level.
Absolutely.
And it's something like I've worked on a lot, is just those self conversations over and over and over. But it's a lot of people never want to recognize it, and they never want to sit there and say, okay, I was in a bad spot here. Like I got to a spot that I'm like, I know I have this problem, whatever it may be, and I know where I'm at right now. I know what my problems are. I know I need to work on, what I need to get better. I seek constructive criticism from the people around me to make myself better. But it's also, I look at now how much more of an impact I'd be able to have on a child than I would have been able to 5 years ago. If I had a child that would be 5 right now.
Yeah, totally.
I would have been.
Got 5 more to fix it.
But no, I would have been so far off. And it's like, so I do see a lot of times people that come from mature parents, older parents, end up with a different upbringing, a different understanding. The parents come from a much more mature conversation, I feel like, a lot of times, because I'm assuming your probably conversation with your parents growing up could be a much higher level conversation.
They definitely held me to a higher standard. And I actually was talking to my sister about this. She's 6.5 years older than I am, kind of the other day. And I was the kid growing up that wasn't, and you probably laugh at this now, knowing what you saw on Tuesday, but I was the one that, okay, things had to be a certain way. Like I needed to act this way. I needed to be this way. I needed to do whatever. And it was really hard for me to let loose.
That child.
Yeah. It was really, really hard for me to let loose and have fun. And I think, and not, like, no criticism against my parents, but it's because the environment that they almost expected me to be more of an adult. And I think that's a very interesting perspective too, because I know many people who their parents are 20 years, that are my age, who their parents are 20 years younger, and they're a totally different personality type. And maybe it's not correlated, maybe it is, but I have a tendency to find more correlations than not. So I think that's very interesting kind of viewpoint on it.
Because I was very much the kid that I'm very OCD. Like my whole life is very clean, tidy. Like I want things done a certain way. Those are things I work on, because sometimes I end up becoming a little too controlling on things. And it's like, it's a trait that I know there are positives to it, but there's also negatives to it. And growing up, I was like, Dre didn't want to race motorcycles because he saw what it did to me. And like, we raced nationwide. We had a 40-foot diesel pusher motor home, 30-foot race trailer behind it. I had all these bikes. I trained every day. Like, at 8 years old, I was racing at a national level. I was fully sponsored. I was covered by everything. And
it wasn't fun.
It wasn't fun. It was a job.
It was a job, yeah.
And so I was just held to the standard, to how I did chores, to mowing, to how I raced, to how I did everything. And it was like, it was great, but it also is something, when I got to college, I came unglued. Like, freshman year.
Yeah.
Freshman year, freshman year was a problem. Like, I came out the gate and I feel like I'd been kept in a cage my whole life.
Yeah.
And it, like,
why is
that funny, Ricky? No, I just felt like,
you gotta let me fly.
I just feel like my dad had his paw and taught me on everything I did.
Yeah.
And like, I was good at everything. Like, I was always a 4.0 student. Like, I was just like, everything was dialed in.
Straight laced. Yeah.
And I got to college, and once I started drinking, I started partying, and college had a lot more good-looking girls at it than my high school did. So
sorry, Madison.
Yeah, Madison.
Well, you found the best one.
I did.
Yeah.
But when I got to college, I drank 7 days a week. I was in the gym twice a day. I was in the best shape of my life. I had a brand new truck at school. Like, I mean, life was good. I could go out until 2 o'clock in the morning. I never knew what it was like. Our curfew was 11 o'clock in high school. I'm like, all of a sudden I was like, dude,
never good happens after that.
Yeah, our dad said nothing ever good happens after 11 o'clock.
Every parent's line.
Which
literally college like the first week. I'm like, dude, everything's way more fun after 11.
Questionably, the best things happen after midnight.
Yeah. Hey, to be fair, I met Madison after 11, so.
There you go.
Fair.
Hey, cheers to that.
Yeah. But no, I definitely got derailed, but I had to bring it back in because I knew like the characteristics I had before were good characteristics to have. And
the balance up.
It was. And I became a lot better at enjoying myself. I came to peace with myself. And I think you go through those like kind of lost states where you have no earthly idea who you are, what life's supposed to look like. Mm-hmm. You don't know how to look outside of a day or one day over the next. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know. At that point, all I wanted to do was sell cars just because I could make a lot of money doing it. And I was like.
So that's how you got into cars.
Or dad also owned the dealership, so.
We've been cleaning that place for years.
we were already groomed up into that. Like, at 16 years old, my dad, I go up to his store as a porter. Then I was also doing sales training every single day. So I couldn't sell cars till 18.
Yeah. Legally.
Legally.
But
no wink. That's legally.
But so I did automotive sales training for 2 years before I even had an opportunity to step on sales floor. So my dad would just every single time just groom me to be. And Dre, he's like telling Dre's like, I don't want to do it. Like, Dre had an option. I'm going to med school. I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with it.
So
every time Dre would get the option, my dad would ask Dre if he wants to do it. I never had an option. My thing, Dad would tell me, and it was like, I was like, Dad. He's like, I don't give a shit. You're doing it. I was like, guess I'm doing it.
I was just a better student than you in school.
And then Dre was the one that he would just be like, Dre's like, Dad, I don't want to do it. He's like, all right, do what you want to do. I'm like, this is some shit.
He's trying different styles.
Yeah. It was yeah. But I don't know. I think that's so crucial to all that we focus a lot on all the good things growing up that we got experience, but it made us what we are now.
Everything that we experience, good, bad, indifferent, growing up and through your childhood and everything is what makes us why we're sitting around this table right now.
Yeah.
And I think some people lose sight of that. They only focus on the negative, or they only focus on, these are the best things that happened to me. But it's like, no, like we're all where we're at now because of our parents, because of the environments we were around, because of the friends we had in middle school and the friends we had in high school, and our experiences, crazy or not crazy, in college that we had. Like it's all shaped us into where we're at.
Pointed somewhere over there to not crazy.
I think I pointed at the garage.
No, but it was funny. Like, even
was Ricky, he was the tame one.
Yeah,
definitely was.
Even when I like look back at it, 7 years ago, even, I thought like my dad was the biggest asshole, like raising my brother and I. I was like, I told Mass, I was like, I will not be like my dad when we have kids. Fast forward 7 years, I'm like, I'm gonna try to be just like my dad. We have kids. I'm like, I don't need to be their best friend when they grow up.
Yeah.
I was like, at some point they'll look back that they're gonna respect me for what I did. That's our dad now. He's like, I wasn't trying to be your guys' friends. He goes, I was trying to build you into the men you need to be.
So I think that's the point that is the issue we run into right now is parents are kids' best friends.
Yes.
Which should not be. It's like they're there to guide you in life, form you into a functional human in society to progress in life, not to sit there and fix every one of your problems, coddle you. So when life actually does hit you, it's like a freight train, and then you're like, what do I do now? It's like, well, you moved out of the house. Or they're like,
Good luck, yeah.
Can I move back in? Oh, sure. Our daddy's like, when you move out, you're never coming back.
I never would have asked my parents to move in. Like after I
would
graduated
have lived in
college,
a box before I
yes,
asked my dad.
No, exactly. I never would have asked my parents to do that. And I think it's so interesting because I've seen a lot of grandparents, for example, behave the same way that they said they never would to their parents, to their grandkids. And it's very coddly. It's very, oh no. And I know that's a different relationship, but I 1000% agree with you guys. I think you cannot be, if you want to like raise someone to be a productive individual in the future in whatever capacity that means, you cannot coddle them and do everything for them. And I that's one thing that I think my parents, did a good job of, because they were that older generation. They weren't the helicopter parents. They were like, we don't know how phones work. We know you have a cell phone now, but like it doesn't have a camera, so cool, like
no cameras.
Yeah, they're like, no, like I mean, my parents were.
She's getting flip phone.
Yeah, honestly, I've thought about going to flip phones so many times.
I've actually kind of thought about it too.
Yeah, they're kind of pricey.
What
are they?
I think AT&T has one. It's like a waterproof, durable. Like people, like contractors.
It's the old farmers that buy those phones. I sold phones at Sam's Club in St. Joseph, Missouri.
Oh, we just skipped over that in your progression forward.
Yeah, we didn't talk about
the phone sales lady over here. Totally missed that part.
The people that buy those.
I sold them phones.
the flip phones that are the waterproof, durable, like drop proof, all this stuff, like no case. Farmers.
Dude, if they came out with a.
I mean, I would buy one.
I mean, if we weren't
as long as I had GPS, because I need to just make sure I can get up here to see you guys.
If we weren't in the industry we're in, I'd be just kind of eliminate all social media. Just be like, because that's what I see a lot of people like in the military. They Rangers, SEALs, they come back. Like, I just want to disconnect from everything. They gonna move out onto land on like a few hundred acres, and then it's like I'm never gonna see another human in my life.
I'm gonna end up being the weird like person that owns a big social media like conglomerate that's like the most like disconnected. Like I'll go in and I'll be filmed, but like I was talking to Mass when we were coming home, like I have a 12 to 18 month goal to buy 100 acres and build out on it and buy cattle, and I'm gonna be up there and like I want to be disconnected. Like when we were down in Texas, I'm like I was really hardly on my phone at all, and I was sitting out there that Thursday we came in.
Peaceful.
Sun was coming down. You really can't see a building, a house for as far as you can see in any direction from Matt Cayley where they built. They have this huge pond out back. The sun's coming down. There's like all these cattle over that are all theirs. And I'm sitting there, I'm like this fridge is loud right now. When I'm sitting here quiet, I'm like, this fridge is loud. I'm sitting out there just like dead silent out there. And you're just watching the sun come down. It's like, this is what America was built on.
You want silence? Go to the Serengeti and just see if a lion creeps up on you.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
I guarantee you that lion's quieter than you expect.
Yeah. The cheetahs are the ones actually the leopards are the ones you got to worry about because they kill for fun. I learned that. Yeah,
so I know a lot of guys that go hunting over there. So I'll be going hunting over there this next year. With the guys I know, but
he was gonna go this year, and
business was
got a little busy
with all the weddings in Mexico and everything like that. I was just like, probably not the year I need to go over, but next year I'll go. But they said that like the leopard hunts, I know guys that went over and bow hunted leopards, and they'll normally put 2 guides with them with rifles also, because like if you miss a leopard, they're one of the only animals. If you shoot at it, they do not run away from where that
they
came
kill
from.
for fun.
They come straight after where it came from.
For fun.
Yeah.
But they're sneaky. Like they
fast.
see you coming and they will, like, I bought a Canon camera for this trip.
This actually whole podcast was just trying to bring her on for the content crew. She got me a job.
So I bought this Canon camera because I wanted to get some like really good photos of this trip. And we were driving up and the safari vehicles, like the top opens up so you can stand up and you can like poke your head out and like look around, and it's going like 60 miles an hour.
So I'm just seeing this car hauling ass and Alex with her head out top.
And my hair is like
with the camera going, get the shot.
No, literally. And I'd be like, Andrew, stop! I need to get the picture of this elephant, right? But so we were rolling up to these rocks. We were leaving the Serengeti. We're like on our way out, and we were rolling. And he had told me like the felines, so leopards, lions, and cheetahs really like rocks because it's a good vantage point for them. And so we hadn't seen really
Smart animals.
Yeah, very smart. We hadn't seen really any felines on the rocks, and so I was like, for some reason, I have a feline, and I'd been standing up, and I had my camera ready always, and we roll up to this rock, and I like have it, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, guys, there's something, and I thought it was a lion, and so I like pulled it up, and I took a picture, and it went behind these trees, and it was a leopard, and leopards are really hard because they hide up in like the top parts of trees. You can always see it, and like you see a leopard like
you could probably get on Ghost Hunters here too soon.
I mean, I might.
How fast you're on that trigger finger?
I'm pretty. I mean, I learned really quickly like how to
spazzed out like I got him.
But I got the butt of it, and so but they didn't believe me that it was a leopard. And I was like, no, I pulled it up. I was like, oh no, this is a leopard. I thought it was a lion, but they literally within a second they will hide, and it's so. I didn't believe it until I saw it. It was incredible because then they were like, no, there's nothing there. You're crazy, and I was like, guys. Look at the butt of this leopard. Like, it is a leopard. And he's like, oh, shit, it is a leopard.
We should get out of here. It could come at us.
Yeah. No, I was like, no,
get your head back in the van.
I was like, no,
we don't know where it went.
I was about to jump out of the thing and, like, climb up into the bushes to get a picture of it. And they finally...
That sounded like a terrible idea.
It would have been a horrible... Yeah. I mean, he never would have let me, but...
Good thing the guys were there like,
ma'am, no. Ma'am, get back in the van.
Yeah, please.
We let you stick your head out. Don't get out.
But anyways, I don't know how I got on the thing of leopards. But,
I don't know how we got there either.
Well, I do that. So.
Yeah. Long dive.
Peaceful. The Serengeti's calm.
Oh yeah. So Serengeti is peaceful. Besides leopards.
Ricky doesn't drink, so Ricky's never had a sip of alcohol. So
that's why I can remember those things.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, we're over here just like pounding with you. We're like, where were we at? And Ricky's like, you guys were
why did we start talking about the Serengeti again?
Yeah.
It was peaceful, but it was incredible. The thing that was so miraculous though is you drive down the like main gate of the Serengeti and you look around and you're like, there's fucking nothing around. There's like a couple trees. You see antelope, which I learned antelope is a general term. It's like saying bird, and then there's like 40 birds. Like there's different types of antelope. So gazelle, impala, dik-dik, like all these different things. And
are kudus included in that? Kudus are huge, and that's like one of like the main things a lot of times people are hunting over in South Africa.
There's an eland. Eland is the largest antelope.
What?
Look at Dre.
Well,
Dre's like, cool. Dre's like, I don't give a shit.
Let me fact check that real fast.
No, he talked about Elon Musk earlier, so I said Elon, and my mind went to him.
Dre's got it. Sign on this.
But so elons are the largest. Anyways, so there's like you see those everywhere, but like then you see like the things you want to see, like black rhinos and leopards and cheetahs and all those stuff are like much more rare. But it's like crazy because the terrain is way more vast than you would expect.
Yeah.
I'll show you pictures later.
How many rhinos did you see?
3. But from a
you just can't.
Rhinos
you can't hunt them.
Rhinos are extremely rare. We only we saw everything else, but rhinos we never saw close. Like we had to pull the binoculars up. I couldn't even get a picture on my camera.
You were probably on like.
You on the northern side?
No, you were probably somewhere through some sort of like actual like were you at a hunting place that
we didn't hunt.
You guys didn't hunt, but were you at a hunting place?
No.
There's no hunting there?
No hunting there. Those are all protected, yeah. In Tanzania, the places we went were protected.
Gotcha. So a lot of times I think in like those areas they'll bring in like rhinos you can't.
Well, I know they have rhino farms.
Yeah.
That's what the South Africans were telling us. Like they have farms kind of like we have cows here, but just cow farms.
Yeah. There's deer farms up north in Albany.
There's one in Brookfield. There's one in Brookfield. They got like 15 deer in there. I'm like in the middle of town. I'm like, odd.
I feel like I need to go there. Hell, I like this week.
Hey, if you get a deer, just give me some jerky. That's all I ask.
I've been out spectating this week. But
no. I think South Africa is more of like the where you can hunt. I don't think Tanzania is not so much that. It's much more protected up there.
Yeah.
Maybe Kenya.
It's actually pretty wild. Like when you get into the ins and outs of like the hunting side over there, like
it's very particular.
And it's weird how like different things are. Where like here with just firearms, like I go buy 20 rifles today. And like over there, like them trying to get their hands on a rifle is like a pain in the ass. So a lot of hunting guys will go over and they'll buy a 300 Win Mag or something they're going to shoot, and they'll buy a $1,000 one, and then they'll tip their guide and just leave them the gun. So because it's so hard for them to get their hands on guns, and we can just take them over on a flight. You can't have your ammo in the same box and everything. You have to get certain cases. But over there, you can go into a gas station and buy a suppressor. Like
here, that's like
suppressor here.
Yeah,
you
can barely get that.
Well, you have to make a trust, and it has to go through a whole thing with the government. And you're normally like, now, grant right now they're going through kind of quick, but for the last like 5 years, it's been.
Let's make it easier to get suppressors.
But it's like people are putting them on hunting rifles. Like over there, they just go to gas station, get water and a suppressor. Like over here, we have to like.
All right, honey, you ready to go get cheetah?
But like, it's just a weird thing that like when they're talking about like the differences in like the firearm state and like all that different stuff, like from here to there, and when you get like the nitty gritty of it, like how hunting takes place there and all the regulations we have on hunting here with the conservation side. And he's like, over there, it's just like you literally just go out and have at it, and you just have to pay for what you shoot. And these guys can get as many tags as they want for whatever it is, pretty much. Like,
yeah, that's definitely more South Africa than where we were at.
But they have stuff for like rhinos, but then they're asking me, they're like, yeah, we can get a giraffe and a zebra. I'm like, I don't really want to shoot those things. Like
striped horse and a giraffe just kind of there.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have a zebra as a pet. Like
zebras are like very skittish. I was shocked. Like they're very much a mix between donkeys and horses. Like very weird to watch.
What would a mix between a donkey and a horse be?
A zebra.
What characteristics does a donkey and a horse have that makes it a zebra?
Like really strong. Like, donkeys are like super strong, right?
Yeah, that's because that's why they're pack mules kind of.
But of course, I mean, they also like gallop and stuff like horses. So it was pretty interesting. Yeah.
They
frolic around.
It was very interesting, but it was really sad. So we saw,
yeah. Did you have on your story the lions that took down that zebra? And were like,
I mean, that was incredible to see. Like, it was like, okay, so a zebra.
That's a circle of life happening.
Yes, a zebra got. We saw a kill. A zebra get taken down by 3 lions. Oh, wow. Female lions.
It was on our story. I watched it like 5 times.
Super, super rare. Apparently, our guide was like, "Oh my God, you're so lucky! Like, you don't get to see this very often because it's like that's like a big animal for them to take down." And like there were 5, a pride of 5 lions that were hunting it. Got some cool photos. I'll send them to you guys later. But so many people were like, "Oh my gosh, this is so sad, the zebra," and I was like, "No." I was like, "This." How
many people messaged you off that story?
I'd have to go back and look. A lot but majority of them were like, "This is so sad," and I was like, "What do you mean it's sad?" I was like, "It was incredible to see. Like, I wasn't sad at all during it. Like, which maybe makes me crazy or something." But
no, I think there's a lot of people just to the world that we live in, this false reality that there's a circle of life of how life works and operates. The people that go
other than humans, there is a circle of life for every other.
We're in the circle too, but like if you go, there's people that I don't want to see an animal die. You hate animals if you go hunt, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you just ate chicken tenders last night. You had a steak last week.
Yeah.
Those animals still died to put food on your plate. I'm like,
in a much less humane way.
Yeah, I'm like,
those chickens will only live for like 16 days.
It doesn't even count,
dude.
But it's like I look at it as, Boyan, like when I buy half a beef every 6 months, and Boyan went out the first time with the farmer.
I woke up one morning to a video at like 6:30.
Oh no!
I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, the farmer sends it to a group. It's like me, Dane, and Boyan. I'm like, oh, and then I just see, poof, and this thing goes down, and then another cow goes over, starts nudging it. I'm like,
that's what we're eating for
I'm
dinner.
like, dude, I woke up to that within 3 minutes being awake. I just watched this cow go down. I'm like, and then it's like, if you kept watching the full thing, he takes down the other 2 cows at the pen as well. It's like,
but it's like when they have cows, like if you go up to like the northern farmers, like you want a beef, like they pull in the cows that you go and you pick them out. And the first time, like Boyan, our buddy Boyan went up there, he's like, he picked the 3 cows they brought in. They closed the gate and they shot all 3 of them. And Boyan's like, oh my God, I just picked 3 to get killed. He's like, I did that to him. I'm like, they're all going to get killed anyways. I'm like, they're all going to be eaten. Like, but people look at it as, I've never been somebody just got shoot things just to shoot things. Right. It's like, when I took down that ram over there, like I was down in Oklahoma and I knew that they had rams out there. And I'm like, I'm not going to eat it. So I was like, I called Boyan and I was like, hey, would your parents want this? He's like, all right, let me make a call. And he calls back. He's like, yeah, for sure. I was like, all right, if I see one, then I'll shoot. But no way was I just going to shoot that and just be like, oh, yeah, I want to mount it. And you throw all the meat off in the woods. Like, I don't know. I look at like a lot of times when people are shooting giraffes over there, they can feed like a whole town. Like a whole,
they can
like,
feed so much. And
they're most of the time they're shooting them and like the hunter gets the trophy of the whole thing. But it's also, they're going to be taken down anyways for food. Like,
and they typically take down the older ones.
Yeah, so the same thing with like lions. When people shoot lions, most of the time it's a old male lion that's been like, they get X-nated from the pack. And then it actually becomes like, they're doing just as much conservation control over there as we are here. Yeah. And it's like, when you look at it, actually keeps a healthier ecosystem with them doing those things. Like hunting actually keeps a healthy ecosystem around here. That's why they regulate deer tags, they regulate all that different stuff. That's why they've increased prices where if we want to go hunt from Missouri to Kansas tags are getting expensive for Missouri hunters.
Or Oklahoma.
Like deer tag in Missouri for a Missouri resident is like, I don't know, it's like $28 or something.
Oh, that's cheap.
But if you want to go get an Oklahoma tag, it's like 500 something. Like what they're trying to do is keep, if you're going to go shoot a trophy buck down there, you're going to pay for it. And then they're going to get revenue off of it to help their conservation.
Right.
So it's like, I think it all makes sense in the grand scheme of it.
Yeah, I think as long as it's regulated and there's some sort of ecosystem that's like being taken into consideration, it's totally fine. But like seeing a lion kill a zebra in the wild is like,
yeah, how else do you think those lions were going to eat? You think they're going to eat grass? No.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
We definitely could talk for, all evening. But I'm trying to think of what we want to close out on. I want to close out some sort of folds. I definitely want to have another one.
Another what?
Podcast with some more folds people on. I really like to get Larry on it. So I will show you something I have after this. I have a very, very, very high-end bottle of bourbon that I've bought.
He doesn't really drink around people.
What do you drink with me?
I don't know. You'd have to twist his arm.
So I bought a specialty bottle.
Don't put this on the podcast.
Yeah, guess we'll have to cut this part out. Yeah. But I bought a specialty bottle to open with him, actually.
Well, he may do that with you, and he's partaken a couple times with me, but he's very selective on who he drinks with. Yeah. Because he doesn't want to get...
He doesn't have to drink a lot.
I've seen him drunk twice, and I've known him for 9 years.
But, no, I think you're surrounded with a lot of really good people, and I've been overly impressed with everyone we've came into contact with from Folds. And from the top to the bottom, it's been phenomenal. The golf tournament, great. And I'm just very thankful for the partnership. I'm very thankful that our paths have crossed and we're able to progress forward with you guys.
Nothing's left to chance. There's a reason And I think passions align on both fronts for this partnership. And, we're thankful for you guys because you guys do great work. And we love the energy you bring. I think that's something that's unmatched and something that is very underappreciated within the industry you're in. Because we have definitely, had experiences where maybe the energy wasn't necessarily there. And we just appreciate you guys being so passionate about our cause and just giving back to the community in Kansas City in particular. So
yeah, well, I very much appreciate everything you do. You guys are making a difference, 110%. So let's get another podcast on the books with a few more Folds people. Mm-hmm. So there'll be another one here soon. Any final thoughts from you, Dre, Ricky?
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we kind of hogged the show down here. So
I know we talk a lot. Sorry.
Hey, you did phenomenal. I didn't see your stiff at any point.
I know. I'm going to say you did a lot better today than you did filming at our office.
Thank you. I tried.
It could be the bourbon, but whatever. But that's M3 Podcast. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.